Hello, Tentacle Nation. Today, we bring you a story that no parent should ever have to tell. A story of love, loss, and a fight for justice. Christion Olson was a bright light in the lives of his family and friends, and his untimely passing has left a void that words can barely describe. But beyond the grief lies a family's determination to honor Christion's memory and seek the answers they deserve. Joining us today are Christion's parents, who will share their journey, their struggles, and their hopes for change. This is a conversation about resilience, truth, and courage to demand accountability. Let's dive in. I mean, can you tell me about Christion? What was he like as a person, a son, and a friend?
He was the best thing that you could want. He was everything that you would want in a son. He was he was a goofball. He was a hard worker. He was dedicated. He was an empath. He'd give you the shirt off of his back, literally. He was just a great kid, man.
So can you tell me like what were his dreams were, his aspirations? What did he want to do in the future? Obviously everybody has, when they're younger, they have aspirations and they may change or whatever, but I mean, what was he hoping for?
So he had just graduated high school, and he was looking forward to his new chapter in life. He wanted to go to trade school down here at the Medina County Career Center for like HVAC welding. He had a whole plan on becoming a welder or maybe a linesman, something with HVAC. He wasn't really sure, but he wanted to take those courses at the JVS. He was very hands-on, so the JVS appealed to him more than the traditional college. He loved working with animals, so he did that with his Aunt Carmen.
Yeah, he had been in 4-H. We were lifelong 4-Hers. All our kids are. He was an advocate for his friends. He cared about treating everybody equally. Mm-hmm. He didn't see people for colors or creeds or religions or anything like that. He was a full-time student, he was also a hourly manager at Marco's Pizza here locally. He worked 35 hours a week past 2-3 years, as well as graduated high school.
He wanted to save money and be ready for once he graduated.
Yeah, he was into cars. He was trying to get in a really nice car.
So he was, very conscious on what he spent his money on and what he did. He worked so much that he didn't really go out a lot.
Yeah.
He wasn't as friendly and,
much of a social butterfly as he was. He didn't have a lot of free time.
Yeah, he didn't. He chose that.
He tried to stay busy.
Yes. We weren't ones to be like, you need to have a job or, work or anything like that. He was responsible enough that he felt like that's what he needed to do to accomplish his goals personally.
And it sounds like some things that I probably should incorporate in my life. So, I mean, it sounds pretty awesome. And I actually went to the Medina County Career Center, the JVS, and so that was...
I did also. Sir.
That's an excellent. That was an excellent thing for him to be looking forward to. I mean, it was a great school. They really teach you a lot there. So,
yes, sir.
So, can you tell me, and I'm sure that there's quite a few at this point, and it's again distressing that you have to come down to it. But I mean, tell me some of your favorite memories about Christion.
Oh, there's so many. He loved to dance and sing. So just hearing him daily in the shower during his karaoke time was just awesome.
Yeah.
It would be nothing for him to bust in your room and give you a little dance.
With a serenade.
Yes. He was really goofy, so he was always, bringing the light to your life. Just seeing him is a memory that I miss.
Yeah.
Talking to him, I talk to him every day on my lunch break. We would communicate in the mornings and then at lunch. And I miss our daily talks at lunch. Him telling me good night, and he loves me.
Yeah, we used to text each other every morning because I'm maintenance tech, so I'm at work 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. So we text each other back and forth every day all the way until he went to school. So those text messages in the morning, we missed those. Just everything.
Is there anything particular you want the world to remember him by?
Just the light that he brought to everyone's life. There was hundreds and hundreds of people at his funeral that we had so many people just walk up to us and tell us, how much of a joy he was in their life. And that is very heartwarming to know that he touched so many people's lives.
In such a short time.
So let's talk about that night. We know Christian, he actually was attending a graduation party prior, correct?
That part is still unclear to us. He was having from that night to our knowledge, this is what had happened is he had a bonfire here at our house, and we have a fire pit. He had a bonfire till about 10:15 or so. Well, that's when we arrived home. We arrived home around 10:15, and the kids were gone from our house. My wife spoke to him. He was with his friends on his way to his friend Eric's house. And that was the last that we physically spoke to him that night until early that morning, about 4 o'clock in the morning.
When he was brought home.
Yeah, he was brought home, and we were awakened.
So the part. Are you? And I don't want to use the word disputing, but I guess what I'm asking is, so the police are telling me that he had attended some sort of graduation party prior to going to Brunswick Township. Now, are they considering your bonfire the graduation party?
I believe so. Maybe.
Which is incorrect, because his graduation party was scheduled for the following Saturday.
For July 20th.
Yeah, so they told me that it wasn't his graduation party, but he was attending someone else's graduation party. That's the way. That's first we've been.
They've been telling us it was a gathering.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all we knew, is it was a small gathering with a couple friends, I guess. The
numbers
vary. Yeah, the numbers of kids that were there vary, but it does never seem to be more than 12 to 15.
Now, are you referring to the Brunswick Township?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So just so I don't want to confuse, and I just want to clarify, they're stating prior to him going to Brunswick Township that he was at this graduation party or whatever, this other gathering. Then from there, they went, and not his graduation party, obviously, but then from there he went to Brunswick Township for this small gathering, is what they're telling me.
Okay, so Chris was here with a few friends. Our condo is not big at all. He was here with a few friends. They left from our home and went to Brunswick Hills. Okay. There was not a graduation party here at our home or anything like that. He left our home having a small a small fire in a fire pit to going to Brunswick Hills with the friends.
Okay. And are you just curious? Are you familiar with these friends from Brunswick Hills, or
where the party was hosted?
The one kid, yes, I'm familiar with him. I didn't know that he had moved to Brunswick Hills within the past 2 weeks, though.
Okay.
So from that perspective, yes. Two of the kids who ended up bringing him home that night we're familiar with. I've known since they were like 7 or 8 years old.
So, have the police at this point shared any new details about their investigation?
They have shared no details with us in general at all since July 13th.
All we know is that our son left our home alive and was brought back to us on the brink of death.
Yeah.
So I'm just telling you, and I don't even know if you know my history, and it's not really relevant, but I mean, I was a pretty accomplished homicide detective, and it frustrates me because that's not, you are the centerpiece of this investigation. You need clarity as to what occurred. You are the family. You need to know what happened, and it disheartens me that they're not keeping into contact with you. And I mean, they don't have to give you like very, all the time minutia details and specifics.
No, we get that, but something.
Yes. So that's disheartening. That's disheartening to hear.
Absolutely. We totally agree. It is this is almost as traumatizing as losing our son. It's like a wound being open daily, just due to the lack of communication.
And so, and again, I don't want to keep, I don't want to pound because I don't want there to be any tension if they do want to reach out to you. I don't want this to be a reason for them not to. But you really haven't talked to him since July, you said?
No, we've talked to them. We haven't been given new,
we haven't been given really any information outside of what we know from July 13th. We've spoken to them since July 13th.
We've had meetings.
We've had 2 meetings with the prosecutors and the police. The first meeting we had with the prosecutor and the police, that was the one that I can send you the audio from, where they literally tell us not to say anything because
they told us not to say anything. Brunswick Hills said that because they wanted it to be a narrative in the community that my son overdosed or committed suicide.
Yeah, and at the time they made it seem as though to us they wanted us not to say anything because they wanted that narrative to play itself out, and they wanted their potential suspects, whoever they were, to feel laxed. So it was explained to us.
All right. And I couldn't. Unfortunately, I can't disagree with that more. And again, I'm not. This episode is not about me, but I successfully prosecuted and investigated 50, 60 homicides in my career, and the entire premise of solving a homicide is keeping pressure.
Correct.
Because that's the only way that someone is going to feel compelled to tell the story. For those people that maybe not even directly involved that know, that's the only way to get them to feel compelled to come out and say something, is to keep the pressure high. Correct. And I don't understand that logic at all. And I apologize. I don't understand that logic. But I would be very interested in if you would send me that.
I'll send it to you as soon as we're done.
We also, when this initially happened, we haven't been close to anyone who has dealt with a situation like this. So when it was told to us to remain quiet and not go public, that's what we did. I just thought it was really odd that no press conference was ever done with it being a suspicious homicide, as they were calling it. in the beginning, just with no public notification. That was very disturbing. Very disturbing. And the fact that we were the ones that actually had to come out and make it public. It just seems like there's no regard to our family and our son.
Now, are you familiar when they were on scene? And you may or you may not know. I don't know. So I had done public records requests relative to their body cameras, the officers' body cameras, and so he's at the gathering in Brunswick Hills, and he leaves at some point.
So they say. We don't.
Correct. So they're stating he leaves at some point, and this is where it makes somewhat no sense to me. And I tried to ask the chief that day, and he didn't seem to have clarity on it. And I'm not disparaging that. He may not know all the minutia of what his investigators are doing. So
right.
I'm not disparaging him necessarily for not being able to answer. But I was hoping that maybe you might be able to. So he leaves supposedly this residence, and then after several hours, the resident wanders down several houses and sees Christion on the sidewalk. Now, my question to the chief was, because what didn't really make a lot of sense to me, is I've been down there myself. I went down there to where the gathering was compared to where they located him, and you can't really see it, especially at night. You would never be able to see him on the ground. So my question to the chief was, well, hey, what made this person even go out to look for him? And there was never any answer to me. And I is that something that you guys know, or
no, because we still don't know exactly where our child was found.
Yeah, the kids who brought him home told us that he was drunk. They found him and he was drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And that was pretty much what we were told.
Yep.
From and all the way until his toxicology report came out.
So, and I don't want to. I'm almost positive, and I'm going to put the preface out. I could be mistaken here, but I'm almost positive. Just reviewing or remembering what was on the body camera, I'm pretty certain that the party that had found him had indicated that he had some sort of fresh trauma on him, and there was some initial confusion whether or not the trauma was caused, maybe he fell on the sidewalk, or if the trauma was caused by something external. But I'm almost positive whoever found him said that he looked beat up. Is that not the story they gave you when they brought him home? No,
that is not the story that we were given at all. We noticed on our own that our son had looked accosted and questioned, what happened, bro? What's going on? And that was the story that we got. Was we don't know. We just found. We found him. He was drunk.
Mm-hmm. And his death certificate said he died of blunt force trauma. So there was no someone beat him up to the point where he died.
Are you familiar? The parties that have brought him home, have you, and again, I'm not asking the intimate details, but I mean, have you talked since then, or?
No,
there's been no communication from parents, children.
None.
Nothing.
These were kids that were my son's friend, and these are kids who, since my son has passed, have become ghosts in the wind. We've had numerous. There's his friends still just pop up randomly. We haven't
his real friends.
We haven't spoken or heard from these kids since July 13th.
Well, I mean that would be highly suspicious.
Yeah,
in my opinion, also. But I'm not. Again, I don't know all of the facts, so I'm not placing blame on them or anything, but that's just sort of odd that they wouldn't have subsequent conversation with you since it happened.
The whole thing is odd. Like this, it's literally like 750 feet from the Brunswick Hills Police Department. It's like,
and this was in a
quiet. Like you've been there, it's quiet. It's like, how couldn't somebody hear or see something?
This wasn't a random act of violence. There's not some random person walking through Brunswick Hills,
right?
Accosting people.
The street is very much somewhat of like on a cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
The residence is like at the end of the cul-de-sac, essentially. And yeah, I mean, there would be no reason, and I think I said that in my first episode. There's no reason for anybody to be like wandering down there randomly.
Yeah. And don't forget, it's a neighborhood watch community too. There's a big sign at the beginning of Topaz Lane that says that you are in a community that is under neighborhood watch.
I did photograph that. I actually included it on the first episode because I thought it was quite ironic.
Yeah.
For that to be there. But I did see one of your guys' signs also. I don't know if you guys put that up or somebody else, but I did see one of your guys' signs. But I from the body camera, I did listen. They did interview pretty much everybody on the street, came to the door, and I will attest that, all the neighbors basically had, at least what they told the police was that they didn't hear anything. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they didn't, as I found out in many of my cases. But I mean, they did tell the police that they did go through the officer. It was a female officer. I'm not sure if she's still involved in the investigation or not, but I mean, she went house by house along with another officer. I think he was maybe a K-9 officer. And they went door to door, and most of the residents, if not all, did answer, and they all did indicate that they didn't hear anything, which again boggles my mind.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
There are two residents where he was found that they also interviewed, and I believe they were described as Asian, I believe. Do you know anything about that, or?
No.
Okay.
We didn't even, your podcast was the first time we've seen any kind of body cam footage or heard that our son asked to be brought home or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like, we're finding out things from you guys, and then when the news reporters go and interview the police in Brunswick Hills.
Yeah, they seem to be more forthcoming with you guys with as far as that kind of information goes than they are with us.
That's a shame. And I don't know if they feel pressured just because we have the media format, or I don't know why they feel more compelled to speak to the news. It's sort of frustrating, but and I guess a lot going through like some of my questions, and unfortunately, like if they've had no contact with you, these questions are not going to be relative to you.
We're not saying we have had contact with them,
but
I mean, if they haven't given you any, so I mean,
they haven't given us any information.
One of my questions was relative to tips, if any.
Pretty much.
Tips.
All right, pretty much when they contact us, it's hey, we don't really have anything.
The most recent one was them asking us about people that attended my son's funeral, thinking that I was going to be able to recall from the hundreds of people if certain people were there, because they weren't there. The police weren't there. So.
I mean, and giving in their defense, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they were there or not, but a lot of times when we do go observe, we do it covertly, so they may have been there. You didn't know, and again, I may be giving them credit. I don't know.
That may be true. I just thought it was like, if you were there or you sent an officer there, why would you be asking me about people that were there? And my mind wasn't even in the right place. I was looking at my son in a casket.
And again, my opinion, I attended all the funerals just as a matter of respect to the family. I thought that was important. So again, that usually I would go, and then there usually would be covert officers in the parking lot observing. So again, I have no idea if they did, but it doesn't sound like they did. But And again, that's a shame also.
And like you said, maybe they had people there in covert, and I just find it odd that you're asking questions if somebody was there that you should know the answer to, if you're looking at a specific person to know if they were in attendance.
Now, I did, and I don't mean to keep you. I just want to I'm trying to, because now you have me questioning when they are objecting to me getting the public records request relative to the autopsy report. I'm trying to bring it up on my email because I don't want to misspeak. And this is back on. This is on November 5th. I had actually filed with the Ohio Court of Claims, basically stating that I felt that the Medina County Coroner's Office was violating the public records law. And so I had actually initiated a claim in the Ohio Court of Claims against the Medina County Coroner relative to this. They usually assign a mediator initially, and so I've been communicating initially with the mediator, but I'm almost positive, and I'm trying to find it. I don't want to misspeak. I don't know. I'm gonna have to find it again. I don't want to misspeak, but I'm almost positive that. But this was a long time ago that they had indicated that one of the reasons that they did not want to give me the autopsy report was because that there were a potential of fresh warrants and/or subpoenas being used relative to the report. I can't find it though. But but that was some time. So honestly, I'm going to be honest. I had hoped that when we had this conversation today that you were going to have some great news, and that's extremely unfortunate. I can't. I mean, I have nothing to do with the situation, but I can't. I feel like the need to apologize to you because it's disheartening to me.
Yes, from the beginning, the way this has been conducted, like I said, we're not really familiar with how it's supposed to be conducted, but it just feels very wrong. Something feels off, and it has felt off from the jump. From being told not to speak, just that the fact that there was never even awareness was never made in regards to there being a suspicious homicide in our community.
Like if you went to his services, you would have physically seen him, and you would physically be able to see that he had been beaten up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like you couldn't hide that even with all the makeup.
Yes.
Like you couldn't. Mm-hmm. There was no way around that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like the whole be quiet so we can keep this narrative going made no sense.
And it still makes no sense to me. And
then to double down on it, they doubled down on it. They told us that in August, and then they told us that again in September or October, right? Like literally like 3 days before he went on his podcast with you.
We had a meeting that week prior.
Yeah, we had a meeting that Friday.
Really?
Literally that Friday, in which they ruled his death a homicide, and they were explicit about, we don't want to see copies of his coroner's report or anything that we're disclosing to you on the internet. And then lo and behold, like within a week, he's doing it himself. Which, I mean, if that's what you're doing, that's what you're doing. But why give me a gag order, being that all I want to do is find out what happened to my son? Mm-hmm. You feel me? And it doesn't, like, that's not the train of the tracks of, hey, let's find out what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And these meetings were involved also with the Medina County prosecutor?
Absolutely.
Yes, there was 2 meetings done with the Brunswick Hills Police Department and the
Forrest Thompson
and the Medina County prosecutor. The last meeting had a couple more officials, but
yeah,
the prosecutor and the Brunswick Hills Police Department have been at both.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and again, I'm not familiar with Medina County. I'm from Cuyahoga County, but I mean that's extremely odd to have a prosecutor. Generally prosecutors, they usually are, someone is assigned through the investigation to work like subpoenas and search warrants that you may need, but generally they wouldn't be involved in any type of meeting with the family. So it's just odd to me that why a prosecutor...
He didn't say much. I think he was just more or less there, trying to give us a safe space to communicate with Brunswick Hills. But he wasn't...
He kind of basically, in not so many words, told us there was not a lot he could do because they hadn't presented him a case.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So they're outside of, I guess, as my wife said, setting up a location and giving us a harbor, there wasn't a whole lot that the prosecutor could do.
Now, the prosecutor did tell us at that last meeting we had with them in September
that he wanted
to do the Crime Stoppers reward. And he was advised not at this time from Brunswick Hills because they didn't want to be overwhelmed. So I can't make this up.
I'm not, and please don't take, I'm not laughing at you.
We get it. No, we get it.
The Crime Stoppers does 90% of the work. They have a division in the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department that runs Crime Stoppers, and 90% of that work is done by the Sheriff's Department. So you're essentially just getting vetted. I mean, they send you everything, but they vet very heavily. So like when it comes to the investigator, you're getting very vetted information that they've already gone through. So for them to say, well, they don't want to be inundated with tips.
Oh, they've said some pretty not okay things to me as a grieving mother. The sergeant has told me on 3 different occasions that he didn't think this was a malicious act prior to my son's death being ruled a homicide. He had told me on 3 different occasions he didn't think this was a malicious act, and I have witnesses that have heard him personally tell me that. The things that have been said to us and the lack of awareness and that have been done, I'm not comfortable at this point in time with how it's being done.
So I'm not going to ask you any of the specifics, but you did mention did you see the autopsy report or?
Yes.
Okay.
Except the certificate.
Yes. No, I have a copy of that too.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. And again, I'm not asking like real specifics, but there's one question only because you brought it up. And again, if you're not comfortable, then just tell me. But what did he have? A lot of alcohol in his system?
No, there was no alcohol in his system.
His toxicology report came back with no alcohol in his system.
There were trace amounts of marijuana, and that was it.
And the witnesses said that nobody there really was drinking. That they had, I think they had something, I can't remember what it was, but even the witnesses at the house said that nobody was really drinking. So I just found it interesting because you said that when they brought him home that he was drunk, and that hadn't been brought up, anything that I had seen up to that point. And then obviously, the autopsy report has no alcohol in it. So, I mean, yeah.
Right. That's where we're kind of baffled at, too, is the whole thing is just mind-blowing because all we know is our son is gone, and that is all we actually physically know. There
was and I don't want to say altercation, there was at least the way the witnesses were describing it, there was a back and forth between him and a female. Are you familiar with that situation?
Somewhat.
That's all we've heard too, pretty much. There was a back and forth between him and a female, and he may or may not have left the residence, and then was found later on. So
supposedly, and I remember from the timeline that I had set out on this, supposedly she had left with other parties prior to him leaving, and then he left about 5 to 10 minutes after they left. but supposedly from what the witnesses were stating, that they weren't actually arguing. It wasn't physical. It wasn't even hardly a verbal argument. But I believe there was some sort of contention relative to her perhaps cheating on him or something of that nature. If I recall, and I just didn't know if you knew anything about that or.
Not any specifics. I mean, we heard that it was a little disagreement between him and a female, and she left. He left. Supposedly.
Yeah, they were. Apparently, there was the disagreement, and then they had. I've heard varying degrees on what the disagreement was. I've heard it was everything from a disagreement to, hey, we hugged it out and it's over with kind of thing, and to it was a shouting match to it was just a small disagreement. We've heard everything in between.
And again, I guess just what doesn't make any sense to me is you're sitting at home. I'm saying that I'm one of the participants at Brunswick Hills house. And I'm sitting there, Christian leaves, and then, and I can't exactly recall if it was 10 to 20 minutes later, he walks down the street and finds him. But why would you walk? I guess my main question is why you would walk down the street.
Yeah, we're confused too because he's not familiar with that community. He lives here in Medina. He doesn't drive. So he wasn't like walking off to go get in his vehicle or anything like that. He was brought out there by people at that party.
To our understanding, by the people who found him.
So he had no vehicle there.
No, he didn't drive. He did not drive.
So when he was leaving, there's probably very minimal likelihood that he was leaving. He
correct. Correct. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Because he didn't drive. And the people that took him from our home was still at the party. Or gathering, or whatever you want to call it. They were still on Topaz.
Okay. Well, I like I said, I would like to get that from you, if you don't mind.
No problem.
I mean, is there... And again, I'm willing... I don't know if at some point... I don't know if I can just email it, maybe. I mean, I don't know if you want, but I mean, I went down there and was able to figure out just by body cameras, like, where he was found, and I don't know if you want it, but like I said, I feel that you should be offered as much as possible to you. You're the family. What you do with that information, if you want it, that's fine. If not, you can hit the trash on the email.
Absolutely.
Delete it. I just feel that you should have it. And I mean, is there anything that we had? And I apologize again. I thought that by this point, just by the language from the public records request or the denial to me, I thought that you guys had more information at this point.
I wish we did. I wish we did.
The only new information we could tell you is that our son's headstone came in for his 19th birthday.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, he did what now?
I said the only new information I can tell you is that our son received his headstone for his 19th birthday.
Yeah.
Well, that's not what I wanted to hear, but is there anything that I haven't asked that you want to be out there specifically? Or, I mean, obviously, you want somebody to have a heart here and call with a tip.
I would like to make sure that the community is aware that there is a murderer walking around Medina County, Brunswick Hills. There is someone that took someone's life. And although the authorities may not need to do or feel that they need to make press conferences or awareness, we are, because it could be your child, your mother, your father, it could be anyone. There is someone that took someone's life, and it doesn't seem to be in the forefront of.
And the main thing that we want to get out is that if someone knows something, anything, please come forward. Please say something. You have got at this point, It's coming up on 6 months. We've got to. This can't continue. This is our existence stopped that day.
And just so everybody understands and knows, I mean, with Crime Stoppers, not only are you looking at the reward, you can do it anonymously. You can even text anonymously. Right. Nobody has to know where the information is coming from. So I appreciate you taking time. I'm hoping that we can get this out and getting more word out, essentially, and I'm hoping this resonates with somebody out there. And like I said, I'll get that information over to you as far as where I was able to find the locations, and maybe it makes sense to you, because it makes no sense to me of why. And again, it could have been totally innocent. Maybe the kid walks at night or whatever and ends up finding Christian. Maybe he likes to walk, early in the morning or something, but it could be totally nothing. But it's just odd to me that they're at this location. You can't see where Christian is laying. Why would he go down there without being prompted in some manner is what my question is. But
Absolutely.
But like I said, hopefully we do some good, folks, and I appreciate your time, and hopefully you have a blessed rest of your evening here.
Absolutely. We appreciate everything that you're doing out here, man. Thank you. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Tentacle Nation, for joining us for this important and emotional conversation. Christion Olson's family continues their brave fight for answers and justice, and they need your help. I decided not to post this on Christmas, which was yesterday. This will actually be the first time that I haven't posted on a Wednesday. I thought it was important. There are certain philosophies of the algorithm of YouTube that if people don't start watching the video when you're posting it, that it somewhat gets buried, and I didn't want that to be an issue for this video in particular. I wanted to make certain that this got out to as many possible people. Anyways, I hope everybody had a great Christmas. Hopefully everybody will be thinking of the Olson family, Christian's parents, during this holiday season. If you or anyone you know has information about what happened to Christian, please come forward. You can do so anonymously through Crime Stoppers of Cuyahoga County. And here's how. You can call Crime Stoppers at Cuyahoga County at 216-252-7463. You can text your tip. Text it to Crimes 274637. Starting your message with tip 657, TIP 657. You can also submit your tip anonymously on their website at www.25crime.com. And this information will be listed in the description of this video. Rest assured that Crime Stoppers ensures total anonymity. When you submit a tip, you're assigned a unique number for all future correspondence and communication. No personal information is tracked or stored. I can assure you of this firsthand as an experienced investigator that received many tips from Crime Stopper. We don't get the information. It's not stored. As we discussed, the family shared an audio recording, which I've listened to, and it describes a strategy of letting a narrative circulate that Christian overdosed, and supposedly to relax potential suspects. This approach is beyond bizarre to me. To catch killers, you apply constant pressure, not relief. The fear of being exposed is what causes suspects to slip up and make mistakes. This strategy only deepens the frustration and anguish of the Christian's family. Adding to the obstacles in this case is the resistance from the Medina County Coroner's Office in releasing Christian's autopsy report. Under Ohio law, this report is a public record and should be accessible. And despite this, the Coroner's Office is actively fighting in its release. Separately, I've obtained what appears to be a copy of the Coroner's report. While I cannot verify its authenticity, its contents are deeply disturbing and raise even more critical questions that demand answers. Christian's case is a heartbreaking tragedy, but it's also solvable. Someone out there knows the truth. The Olson family deserves answers, transparency, and justice. This could be your son, your brother, or your friend. Let's ensure Christion's case doesn't fade into the background. Thank you for listening, Tentacle Nation. Stay safe, stay strong, and let's keep the pressure on. Justice for Christion Olson is within reach if we don't give up. Check out the first video on the Christion Olson case if you haven't already seen it.